you have 3 children by how many different men?
3.
So she had 3 children by 3 different men, and you knew all of that before you married her.
I did.
So you kind of knew what you were getting into, or at least you suspected you knew.
I kind of figured it was a 50-50 whether it was going to work out.
So
Stupid, I know.
If I'm leaving, then we both move on. I want the house sold.
these parties will continue to cohabit in the marital residence until June 1st. At that point, Ms. Balknick will vacate the property. Whether Ms. Balknick wants to move out of the house or not, right now, that's coming. I mean, you're gonna have to do it sooner or later. Short-term marriages that go through divorce, the court's usually looking to put the parties back in the situation they were in prior to the marriage. It's just that simple.
After just 6 months of marriage, a single mother of 3 tried to sell his $800,000 property so she could walk away with half, despite not contributing a single penny toward it. Fortunately, they ended up with a fair and reasonable judge. He gave her a deadline to move out and made it clear that, given the short length of the marriage, she wasn't entitled to anything. The judge stated that both parties would be returned to the positions they were in before the marriage, meaning they would each leave with what they brought in. But she clearly wasn't happy with that outcome. Things didn't go the way she had planned.
What we have, Your Honor, is that the crux of this case, and really the only asset of this marriage, comes down to the parties prior to their marriage purchased a home at 1047 Yellow Creek Highway. My client put down a significant down payment on the home. Well, the down payment was put prior to the marriage, and the purchase was right after the parties married. The property is approximately between $700,000 and $800,000 home, has a significant mortgage on it. What we're asking, Your Honor, is for exclusive possession of the home. Mrs. Botnick, again, this is a short-term marriage. Mrs. Botnick has 3 children from prior relationships. In fact, she was with child at the time of the parties' marriage that is not my client's child. And she has just finished another custody matter with that child's father. And again, she's not contributing financially. They purchased a vehicle that she is driving, and we are asking that she and the children, and she's allowed her mother, Miss Carol Ledford, to move into the home also. So there's 6 people cohabitating in this home, and my client is having to pay all of meet the financial responsibility of the home. So it's our request that she be ordered to vacate the premises, or in the alternative, given the fact that herself, her 3 children, and her mother are living there, that my client pays 1/6 and she pays 5/6 of all the expenses associated with the home. The home, again, we're going to have an issue. The home has just been purchased. It's very unlikely that there's significant equity. She is not in a position, it's our claim that she's not in a position to buy my client out of the home or get the home refinanced into her own name. But she is not contributing, and she has now begun having extramarital relations, and as a result of that, we want her out of the house.
So,
Your Honor, just briefly, parties were married September 4th, 2023. The home that they currently reside in was purchased, conveyed to both of them as husband and wife, Joseph Tootle and Jordan Botnick. Our position, Your Honor, is that the house is a marital residence. Mr. Tootle has significantly more income than Ms. Botnick, and we have filed before the court today is a motion to sell the marital residence, and we would...
Of course she wants to sell it. Why wouldn't she? This is what happens when you ignore all the red flags right in front of you. He knew the chances of a successful marriage were slim, but he decided to go ahead with it anyway. Now, he's facing the possibility of losing the house he worked so hard to buy. When she met him, His life was in order, and that may be exactly why he became a target. Still, he should have been mature and self-aware enough to see it coming. The funny part was how her lawyer spoke about her wish to sell the house. He said it in a way that it felt like she contributed equally to the acquisition of that property, and that's why she is entitled to half of it, despite the reality being far different.
Propose that upon its sale, the net proceeds be paid into court, and then we can proceed with the divorce in that regard. But I would submit to the court, there's no basis to grant Mr. Tootle exclusive possession of the marital home. Ms. Bachnick's name is on the deed, it's a marital asset, and submit that she's entitled to reside there just as much as he is.
State your name, please, ma'am.
Jordan Lindsay Bachnick,
And Ms. Boddick, where do you work?
Envision Healthcare.
And what do you do for Envision Healthcare?
I'm an AP specialist.
And
Well,
what,
please scoot up a little bit towards that
Sorry.
microphone so we make sure it's picking
I'm
up.
an AP specialist.
and what does that mean?
Accounts payable. I work for the same company as Joseph.
And what is your rate of pay?
22 an hour.
You work 40 hours a week,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have 3 children by how many different men?
3.
Sometimes it's hard to understand the choices people make, especially when it's pretty obvious they're making a bad one. I mean, did he really think employers ask about job history for no reason? Patterns matter, and relationships aren't any different. He seems like one of those quiet and awkward guys at the office who felt like he hit the jackpot just because she showed a bit of interest. And that was enough for him to overlook all the signs that this probably wasn't going to work out.
And how much child support do you get?
I get child support 1 kid and $697.
$697 for what child?
1 child. And I don't get child support from the other 2.
What child do you get the 190?
Sailor, the
And how-
baby.
And who is Sailor's father?
Nick Ellis.
And that's your youngest child?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in fact pregnant with Sailor at the time that you married?
No,
Or right after you had just had the child?
I just had him. He was born in June and I got married in September.
Okay.
Sometimes you just have to let people learn from their own mistakes. I'm sure his relatives warned him it wasn't the right time to make that kind of decision, but he went ahead anyway. He proposed to a pregnant woman and married her just 3 months after she gave birth. That alone says a lot about how he sees himself. The signs were all there, plenty of them, but as we know, he chose to ignore all of them, and now it landed him in court.
To your husband that you only married him for financial security?
No.
You sure about that?
Yes.
That's your statement under oath?
Yes.
Did you threaten at the point in time when he told you he wanted a divorce, did you threaten to throw yourself against the wall so that you could get an order of protection and kick him out of the house?
No.
Have you contributed to the house payment?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm paying for everything else.
What is everything else that you're paying for?
Groceries to stay in the house, and I pay for all my kids. Groceries, clothes, and I filled out a form, basically showing what I do pay for.
Pay any of the utilities?
No.
She didn't contribute to the purchase of the house or to any of the mortgage payments, claiming she was covering groceries and food for her kids. Honestly, that's the least she could do, considering her mother and 3 children were also living with them. And now she wants to claim half the property, despite not having put a single penny toward it.
You acknowledge that the down payment on the home came from his separate funds, do you not?
I'm going to object. That calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm sorry?
I object. That calls for a legal conclusion as to what separate funds are.
I'll rephrase the question. Did you have any money before y'all, when the contract was made on this house?
I had my own money.
How much did you have?
At the time, I don't recall how much I had.
Did you pay $160,000 down on this house?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
No, I didn't put money down on the
Okay,
house.
why did you say you don't recall?
Well, to your question before that,
Objection asked and answered.
no, I did not pay money on the house.
You know that your husband had money that he put down on this house that was not your money.
Right. After we were married, though, he paid money on the house.
And he paid for your attorney for your paternity actions too, didn't he?
He helped pay for my attorney with Nick.
And how much was that?
I don't object. I think that's privileged.
Object on what basis?
Privilege. I mean, third party may have paid it, they're married.
And you're talking about the attorney-client privilege?
Yeah, number one, I don't think it's relevant.
Now we're talking relevance instead of privilege.
Well, Judge, I think what a client pays an attorney, and the third party pays it, you know,
I understand your point, Mr. Odell. And again, we're talking economics of two people who have been married for a short period of time. You will be able to ask questions of him regarding any expenditures he's made. And my understanding is that these questions are being asked to demonstrate the financial contributions each of them have made to the household. Because one of the motions that we have before the court today is a motion for exclusive possession of the marital residence, and that entails who's going to pay the mortgage for that. There's also a motion for a temporary division of marital debt, which is on the docket. So all of these issues are relevant on the issues that are before the court. She's not required to testify about any direct conversations that she may have with her attorney, but the question of if there were marital funds or his separate funds that were used to pay for her attorney, then for whatever relevance, I mean, whatever weight that is, I think it is relevant on the issue before the court.
Well said. The judge is right. Those questions are necessary to uncover the financial contributions each person made, and that will be key in deciding what happens with the house. I understand exactly what her lawyer was trying to do. The goal was to avoid those tough questions, because they would highlight just how little his client actually contributed. And that definitely wouldn't work in her favor. He paid $160,000 down payment for the house, and is currently paying the mortgage, and for some reason, she feels like she is entitled to half of that house, just because they have been married for 6 months.
And what is your role at the company at Envision?
I'm VP of Accounting Information Systems.
Were you her direct supervisor?
No,
And y'all became acquainted through your employment, is that correct?
I knew her prior to employment. I helped her get the job.
Okay, how did you know her prior to the employment?
I met her at her work when she worked at Twin Peaks.
At where?
Twin Peaks,
Twin Peaks is a bar
bar and restaurant.
and restaurant, and we'll just leave it, why to name that, but at any rate, you met her there and got her a job. Did y'all start a romantic relationship at that point in time?
I helped her get a job probably about 2 years ago. We kind of hung out some in between there, from time of meeting till she got the job at our company.
And when did y'all become romantically involved?
Throughout the time I've known her, different instances.
And she was having relations with other people during that time too, particularly?
section leading.
Correct.
And you,
Well, the question is, sustained, it was leading, restate your question.
are you aware of whether or not, did y'all have an exclusive relationship?
We did not.
At what point in time did marriage come into the picture?
Roughly somewhere in July, after she had had her child.
Okay. Did you ask her to marry, or was it just a, hey, let's do this? I mean, what was the?
We decided to date, and then as we started dating, we decided that after knowing each other for a period of time, that was the right move to make at that time, because she stated she was in love and wanted to be with me.
Okay. Was there money put down on the house?
Roughly 160 plus the 10,000
And where was the source of that money?
came from my income. 120 was in savings, 40 I took a loan against my 401k.
Is there still a loan on the 401k?
Yes. Comes out of my paycheck month.
How much did y'all purchase the home for?
It was 760,
And what is the monthly payments?
4,200. That doesn't include insurance and taxes.
And that's going to be my next, was insurance and taxes escrowed in?
It was not escrowed in.
So other than when you purchased it in September, the down payment that you made, are you familiar with any other increases in value or any improvements to the property that's been made that would increase it significantly from what the purchase price was?
There's been no improvements to the property.
Did both of you sign the mortgage?
I'm the only one on the mortgage.
Do you know why?
It was better to qualify for interest rate under my income than using both.
So even though
That's
the
what-
house is in joint names, the mortgage is only in your name?
Correct.
Now, shortly at, you know how much she makes?
Roughly,
What is that?
around 22. I knew when she got the job it was around 21, and there's been raises since then.
And how much do you make, sir?
Around to 190.
The good thing about this whole situation is that he got out early, because the longer it went on, the more he would have had to deal with it. He's still young, and with an annual salary close to $200,000, starting over shouldn't be too hard for him. I just hope he actually learns something from it and makes better decisions moving forward.
I was paying her phone bill. She used my credit card multiple times after I'd paid it once to pay it.
And then, again, the rest of these are average expenses, is that right?
That's right. And the only thing on here I haven't been paying is the Tahoe. I stopped paying it in January.
And that's the 1,050, and that's the vehicle
correct.
she's driving. Had you previously paid it?
I'd been paying it since we bought it.
And when was it purchased?
We purchased it in August.
Right before the marriage?
Right
Whose-
before the marriage.
Whose name is it in?
It's in both of our names because she couldn't qualify on her own for it
Okay.
with
And
a
so-
good, with a good interest rate.
Okay. And so, again, looking at that, you're basically barely breaking even if you take away the $1,000.
I was until she started paying her bills.
Okay, until she started paying her bills. Okay. Tell me what's led to you Yarna, we'll move that in as the next exhibit.
This
What's
is the
led you-
first exhibit, is it not?
Yes, that first one. What's led to you filing this divorce, sir?
We started having issues in October, which was relatively shortly after being married. She even told me that her therapist and her had discovered that through their therapy that she wasn't really in love with me and that she wanted consistency and stability for her kids and thought that she could love me over time. At that point in time, we talked about getting a divorce. We tried to work it out multiple times and we kind of wound up back at the same spot.
So she had to go to therapy to figure out she didn't love you?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
It honestly sounds like something out of a comedy. I mean, she needed to talk to someone just to realize she didn't have feelings for her husband? What makes it even more surprising is that he said the issues started pretty early, so it's not like they had a few good years and then things fell apart. This wasn't a slow decline. From the way it sounds, she married someone she didn't even like from the beginning. Their situation is completely different from the usual. It really makes you wonder if she ever had genuine feelings for him, or if, maybe, this outcome was always part of the plan and he just didn't see it coming.
That was a house we were married in, and if I'm leaving, then we both move on. I want the house sold.
But just in revenge?
No, definitely not revenge. I'm not vindictive like that.
Okay. Well, you put this income and expense statement for whatever the truth of it is, that
I'm
you don't
object
have,
argumentative.
you don't have,
Staying on the sidebar comments, don't make sidebar comments.
you're stating that you only have $3,912 a month to support you, your 3 kids, and your mother.
Right,
And you're gonna sell a home that you've not contributed to whatsoever, correct?
right,
And you're going to have that listed for sale, so there's gonna be a sales commission that's gonna be paid on it, correct?
correct,
And then you're going to have capital gains tax on any income that you derived from that, correct? Did you know that?
okay, correct.
And so again, it's certainly not for financial gain that you think you're gonna sell the house, is it?
Well, the divorce is gonna end us. We're not gonna be together anymore, and I want a fresh start. He will want a fresh start, and I want the house sold.
She talked about selling the house with such confidence. It almost sounded like she'd been his wife for decades and had a real investment in the property. Just because she wants a fresh start doesn't mean he should lose half of what he invested. At this point, it's pretty clear it's more about the money than doing what's fair. She's just looking to cash out before walking away. And let's not forget, this was only a 6-month marriage with no kids involved. So what makes her think she's entitled to half of a property she didn't even contribute a dime to?
Because you want the money, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Now, and your income and expense statement is $3,912.46 is what your income is. But again, you're making $22 an hour.
Right,
So that's 45,000 and some change a year, correct? 45,760 a year.
yes.
So you divide that out, and I divided by 52 weeks, and that's $3,813.
Okay.
Where did you, and do you make any overtime or anything else?
No, we're not allowed overtime.
But this income that you've got up here, this monthly income before taxes, does not include the 687, the 780, or the 599, which is an additional $2,066. Isn't that correct?
If that's what you have on there.
Well, you don't have it on there. I added it up. But if you look down at the bottom, monthly court order child support, 687.
And also, it's not consistent. I mentioned why.
You didn't put that on, that's not included in this number, is it?
Is it not?
Is it or is it not? This is what you've introduced as your income, ma'am.
It's not introduced
Okay.
because it's not consistent, because he doesn't have a job half the time, his father.
Well, see, I asked you, when I called you on direct examination, I asked you what child support you get, and you know what your testimony was?
Yes, and I told you.
No, you just said I only get it for Sailor. You get 687. You
Right.
didn't mention that you got it for Bryson.
Because I hardly get it.
Well, when was the last time you got it?
Last
Month.
No, let me finish, please. I got it probably back in October of 2023. And I can show proof of that.
Have you instituted any cases against him to try to collect the money?
Well, it's kind of pointless because it's already garnished out of his wages, and it would cost me money that I don't really have to fight him. And
So you would instead let somebody who's not the father of your child support you and provide a home for you than to go get money from the person who's supposed to be supporting that child?
well, he does work sometimes, and when he does, I do get money for Bryson. So.
His lawyer made a great point. She's not doing anything about the father of her child, who isn't even paying child support, yet she's willing to go the extra mile to get something from a man she was only married to for 6 months, with no kids involved. If she had put the same energy into holding her child's father accountable, maybe he'd be paying child support by now. Dude ignored some pretty big red flags. The lawyer for the husband is a beast. She's not letting up on that woman. Great work. He married a single mother of 3 from 3 different men, then put her name on the house? What were you thinking? She's giving off heavy Amber Heard vibes. She had her life set. As long as she was faithful and was actually parenting her kids, she'd be living a good life. But that's too much to ask for someone like her. She wants to sell a house she has contributed nothing to? That's wild.
And I'm doing what I can. Make sure he has everything he needs.
You're doing what you can.
Right, for my kids.
Have you gotten another job?
No, I have a baby. New baby.
Okay.
Well,
Does
I
that
don't-
preclude you from having to support your children?
I don't think I would have time to have another job when I work 40 hours a week.
You just work 40 hours a week. And your mother you're providing a roof for your mother on somebody else's dime. Correct?
She helps a lot with the children, so that's saving me on having to get childcare.
So 2 occasions that you just admitted that you've lied about. Now, you are also communicating with another gentleman now, aren't you?
I have a friend that I text, but I'm not.
A male friend
Yes.
that you are anticipating and romantically texting, correct?
He lives in Chattanooga, so
I didn't ask where he lived.
Okay, well, no, we don't talk like that.
You
He's
don't
a
talk about,
support a friend, because I'm going through this and I need a friend. And I don't have a lot of girlfriends that really care, so I'm reaching out to him as a,
well, I'm not trying to question you because we're going to subpoena your text records from him. And I'm asking you right now, we've already established that you embellish or tell falsehoods. And I'm asking you right now to create a record because we have a court reporter. They are not romantic in nature. Is that correct? Yes or no?
We don't really talk like that over text message, though.
Not
I
to
guess
the
I just
point
don't
of-
look at it that way.
What does she even mean by she doesn't see it that way? The guy she's talking about is either just a friend or something more. You can't have a certain kind of relationship with someone and then try to downplay it like it's nothing. The good news is that he's got a solid lawyer. She's sharp, clearly knows what she's doing, and it shows. She's going after every detail, taking it seriously, and his ex definitely felt it. Apparently his ex is already seeing someone else but is trying to frame it like he's just a friend. The thing is that his lawyer has already gathered proof that it's more than that. She went through her messages, and now there's no room left to deny it.
Police and have Mr. Tootle kicked out of the house, and you have said that, haven't you?
Right, I did not say that.
You did, you're sure?
I'm 100%
You
sure. I did
understand
not
we've
say
had,
that.
there could be surveillance.
Totally
So
fine.
you don't want to recant that right now?
No.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You have every opportunity before this hearing is over with to recant that statement. Are you, again, testifying that you never made a threat to him to call the police and have him thrown out of the house?
The one about me throwing myself against the wall, I did not say that.
Okay, well, what did you say?
Which time when I threatened to?
Well, obviously, there's more than one threat.
Because he is kind of a bully. And yes, I will threaten to call the cops on you if you threaten me.
So telling you you're rude and that he
Well,
lets you out of the
stop.
house is, you're gonna call the police.
I
That's,
told him to stop and he did.
that's all. You don't have anywhere to go. What are you gonna do if the house sells?
You understand the question? She's asking if you don't have any place to go, where are you gonna go when the house sells?
I
Obviously.
might have to get help from my sister.
So you have the availability to do that?
No, I'll have to reach out if that's the case. She lives in Texas. I have no family in Tennessee, besides my mom.
But of course, until you were caught on cross-examination about telling numerous lies, you never raised one issue or told anything about some verbal abuse, did you?
That's why it was brought up about me having to threaten to call the police.
Why did you have with this man after the divorce was served if he's such a person?
Well, same instance he had me.
Now we are about to see the father and son conversation he's going to have with the judge. This is exactly what he needed before taking that step. Honestly, I think if someone had just sat down with him and really talked through what he was about to do, he might have made a completely different choice. But here we are. Let's see what the judge is going to tell him now.
You knew her for 7 years before you married her, right?
I did.
All right. You helped her get a job,
I did.
and you knew she was carrying another man's child when you married her, right?
She already had the baby when we got
Already
married.
had the baby. So she had
Correct.
3 children by 3 different men, and you knew all of that before you married her.
I did.
So you kind of knew what you were getting into, at least you suspected you knew.
I kind of figured it was a 50-50 whether it was going to work out.
So
Stupid, I know.
The judge didn't even have to spell it out. He came to that conclusion on his own. It just didn't make sense. And honestly, you don't need to be an expert to see that. There were plenty of signs that the chances of that marriage working out were slim, but he chose to ignore them. And because of that, he ended up exactly where he is now. It really makes you wonder, what exactly was he expecting from that relationship in the first place?
most men, when they get married, they don't think about 50-50 chance of it working out when they, ask someone to marry them.
I wanted to believe.
Although I would say that with the divorce rate in this country, that's probably not far from the average of what marriages work out and what don't. But my question to this is, you expected there would be problems, I assume.
Yeah, I wanted to believe what she was telling me. That she was past going out and partying, and she was ready to be a family and settle down, and she was looking for
And you
stability.
Cared
And
for
so-
her and you wanted to help her.
And obviously, for 8 years, there's something there. I was fed the whole 9 yards.
The reality is that it comes down to what he chose to believe. It's not about what she told him or convinced him, but what he decided to do when she displayed her interest. This is where the knowledge and wisdom come into play. That's what he needed the most, because if he was knowledgeable on this subject and was confident in himself, he would never fell for it. She had 3 past relationships that resulted in a child, so why did none of those 3 men decide to stick around and raise their kids? It's evident that she has no issues attracting guys, but retaining them is another story, and this is something he shouldn't ignore.
Point is that you went into this knowing that there could be problems, right?
I did.
And it turned out there are problems.
Within a couple of weeks, I figured out there was problems.
But you say you still love her.
I do, but I don't think I have the same kind of love that I had before. It's more, I care about her.
I honestly feel sorry for him. He seems like a nice guy who is just naive when it comes to relationships. The fact that none of the fathers of her children stick around should have been a sign that something is not right, and he should calm down and think about the decision he was about to make. But instead, he convinced himself that he was different. He thought he was the one who could make it all work, like he was going to be the Superman who would fix everything. But unfortunately, as we can see, he was wrong.
It was testimony that she didn't realize that she didn't really love him until her therapist, I think it was, that told her she didn't really love him. And if she went out and had with 2 other men during the marriage.
It's honestly hard to believe this actually happened. It sounds more like something out of a scripted show than reality. I mean, she got proposed to while pregnant with someone else's child, got married when the baby was just 3 months old, then realized through her therapist that she didn't even like her husband. She was also involved with 2 other men during just 6 months of marriage. And to top it all off, now she wants half of the house she didn't contribute a penny for. It's almost unreal. This guy really landed himself in a bizarre situation. Hopefully he takes this as a lesson because this was tough. And if he truly learns from it, maybe he'll be able to make a better choice next time.
That is a temporary hearing that is designed to keep the parties in life and limb together until such time as they can conclude this matter after discovery and after mediation takes place. Whether Ms. Balknick wants to move out of the house or not, right now, that's coming. I mean, you're gonna have to do it sooner or later. Mr. Tootle has indicated that he cares for her children, and his concern is that she may make some false allegation against him while they're continuing to live together. So it's going to take time for her to move out. The Dixon County school system concludes its school year on what, May 23rd, I think it is?
Yes, sir.
And it is this court's opinion that these parties will continue to cohabit in the marital residence until June 1st. At that point, Ms. Balknick will vacate the property. Mr. Tootle will continue to have temporary possession of the marital residence. I make that statement because of the fact that it is apparent that Mrs. Balknick cannot afford to pay the house payments, and therefore if he is forced to leave, he's going to still have to make the house payments. She has indicated that she wants to sell the house, which obviously indicates she would then have to leave. In the interim period that they reside together, she will pay all payments that she has on her income and expense statement. I have added, she's showing a shortage of her income and expenses that she's negative $1,505.56. If you add back in the child support payments and her renewable income, then that comes to $5,978.46. So it's clearly more than her expenses are, even considering those expenses, which when I look at, no, and I don't mean this to be harsh, but I don't spend $489 on recreation and entertainment a month. Clothing and personal care, $400 a month. Folks, you're going through a divorce. You're going to have to tighten up a lot of these expenses that are otherwise you might do if you're living in a nice home and having 2 incomes that total over $200,000 a year. This is not going to be the case. Short-term marriages that go through divorce, the court's usually looking to put the parties back in the situation they were in prior to the marriage. It's just that simple.
It's only fair. There's no reason her life should be upgraded at his expense after just 6 months of marriage. That short amount of time doesn't justify alimony or any other form of financial support. As the judge rightly said, they'll both be placed back in the financial positions they were in before the marriage. In other words, he keeps the house he paid for, and she returns to renting, just like she was doing before. In my opinion, that's a fair and solid outcome. It keeps things balanced. When she said she had her baby in June and married Mr. Simp in September, even the judge had to scratch his head. She needed a therapist to tell her she's a gold digger. I'm not vindictive like that. I just want tons of his money after a marriage shorter than most high school relationships. That judge saved this man from the biggest mistake he's ever made. Kudos to the judge. I'm glad the judge added in that little extra order so that she doesn't try to call the cops on him and get him kicked out of his own home.
Short-term marriages of 6 months do not typically require or even justify the awarding of alimony or spousal support, absent some compelling circumstances. So I'm just saying these expenses that are here are going to have to be looked at. Her car payment of $1,034.27 is fixed. It's going to have to be paid. She's got cell phones for a 10-year-old, so be it. She'll have to pay for it. Her automobile insurance goes with her car. Her food and groceries of $1,200 a month. She's only going to be required to provide food and groceries for her and her children. He will have to provide food for himself. Laundry and cleaning doesn't seem to be particularly outrageous, but the $400 for clothing and personal care and $489 recreational entertainment may be an area that Ms. Balknick has to kind of reduce. Mr. Tootle will be required to pay those expenses that are shown on his income and expense statement. Right now, he's paying the house mortgage. He wants to keep the house. The issue of any credit that he is to receive for making the payments on a temporary basis, any increase in the equity that might result from that will be reserved for the final hearing in this case. He's providing right now for the next 2 months at least a place for her and the children to reside until June 1st. And that, in my opinion, would justify that. I've taken away the $300 phone bill that she's now going to be required to pay, which means he'll have some small amount, but I also think he's got a greater amount than what's shown on here because there's some flexibility in his income. In any event, he'll pay the monthly mortgages on the house and all of those other bills that he has paid, with the exception of the Chevrolet Tahoe, which she is going to be required to pay. And with that being the case, I will put down this further order. These parties are both restrained and prohibited from involving law enforcement in any way, shape, form, or fashion against one another to gain an advantage in this divorce action, or to seek to have the other removed from the home. A violation of this order will be contempt of court.
I'm pretty sure we all know why the judge made those final statements. With his level of experience, he can see right through these kinds of tactics. He knows that since she has a deadline to move out, there's a real chance she might try to flip the situation and get him kicked out of his own property. That's exactly what the judge is trying to prevent. That's also why he made it crystal clear. If either party tries to manipulate the situation to gain an unfair advantage, they'll be held in contempt of court. She knows her chances of getting anything significant from him are slim, and pulling a stunt like that could be her way of trying to shift the outcome. But the judge isn't having it. His goal is to ensure a fair trial where each person walks away with what they truly deserve. Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm just simply saying that I'm not saying you would do that, but I'm saying there's been some allegation that you were going to call the police. There's some reason he might, but I'm simply saying you can't do that under this order. And as a result of that, if something happens and it turns out that somebody violates that order, they're looking at 10 days in jail for even doing that, making that type of report. If there is any indication of violence in the home, you must